Hello and finally welcome to episode number 2 of the CoasterTopia Podcast. It's been a long time. My name is Tom and today I am joined by Lars,
Hi.
Luca,
Hi.
and newcomer Glenn.
Hello, everyone.
So, in this episode we will be quickly talking about the news in the industry and we will be talking about some personal rankings and stuff to make it a nice episode. But before we start, the CoasterTopia Podcast will be uploaded every Saturday around 4 PM Central European Time, which would be around 3 PM British Time, 10 AM American East Coast Time, and 7 AM American West Coast Time. If I reach the upload date, and I'm sorry that this podcast is 4 weeks too late, but I still have to get used to everything and I will try to make an episode every week. So with that being said, let's get started. So the first new thing is the layout and name announcement for the new Gerstlauer family coaster coming to Bellewaerde, a small park in Belgium. So what do we think of it? It's not really big.
First it will be called Wakala.
Yeah,
It will be
it's
660
called
meters
Wakala.
long, 21 meters high, has a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, and the special elements chain lift and a vertical rollback, so a spike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will quickly go over the layout. So you roll out of the station onto the lift, it seems, and then you make a drop banked to the left over the Alpine coaster, which you cannot control the speed of. Then you go under that and make a very drawn out turn to the left. Then an airtime hill, and then there's some more twisty turns, and then eventually you'll reach a straight section, which I think is like a small launch.
No, it's just a straight section with
Okay.
set of brakes.
Okay, it's just a straight section. And then you make like a little bank to the left, and then the spike. And then you roll backwards of the spike, and then into the brakes. And then I think you just roll forwards again into the station, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's quite simple. It's short but sweet, I guess. I think it kind of fits the park well, but it's very similar to the Zero Force they have there, because they're both small family coasters with not too big of a layout, around the same speed, just some turns. So what do you think of it?
Well, obviously, it's not going to compare to Yip at Parc del Café, which is one of the best family coasters in the world. However, I'm sure it could compete with something like Fire Chaser Express, which isn't as good.
Well, I mean, Fire Chaser Express looks way better and bigger and better.
True.
And
It has the terrain and it's way longer.
yeah. And
To
yeah,
be
the
honest-
the theming looks kind of weak on this.
If you want my opinion on it, I think it can really enhance the park, but it seems to be the same as Hurricane, but they can market it really differently than what they did with Hurricane, because Hurricane is an indoor coaster, which has theming and lighting and everything around it, which is an entirely different experience than this new one coming to Bellewaerde, the Gerstlauer coaster, Wakala it's called. I think it's a good pick for the park, actually, because the park is more focused on families and children in general. So I think it will fit nicely in there.
Yeah, I really want to go to the park, though, because the Gerstlauer family coaster is actually really fun. And Belgium's Belgium as an area is developing really fast, so it's just one of the many parks in Belgium getting a massive addition.
I
Yeah,
also
but-
really like the trains. They are like red, yellow, and green. Really weird colors, but they really fit the track.
They fit the theme in general because it's a Indian rowboat.
Is it? I thought it was African. I don't know.
It's an
No,
Indian
but
theme.
it's in the Canadian theme zone.
Okay, this is now confusing.
It's themed to Canadians, to Canada. Whoa, what's
Canada?
happening with my English?
Well,
Well, it's happening to Canada, and like in Canada they had Indians as well, just as in America. So that's what's themed to. But in general, Company des Alpes is really investing in their parks the last
True.
few years.
Yeah. Well, I quickly have to add though, it has 2 lifts, not 1.
I think the second one is like with a
Yeah,
push,
it's
like a semi-launch.
yeah, it's like Van Helsing's factory on the second lift,
Yeah,
but a little bit more extreme.
I don't. It will be roughly the same, I guess. This one will have a much longer train, so
Yeah, so the airtime could be really strong.
I don't think that will actually happen. But
Which
can
airtime? So, we are now moving on from the Bellewaarde Geurslauer to a new concept presented by MacRide, which is basically their Power Splash model, but it's twisted because they added a loop in it, and to be honest, it looks kind of funky. But I think, like, if I compare it to, I've ridden Pulsar, and I really enjoyed Pulsar, and I think a looping could actually make the experience quite a lot more exciting, not necessarily so much better. Lars, what do you
Yeah.
think of the power loop concept?
Well, I think it looks very promising, especially to parks that like over Texas. That fit very well there, as they would have needed a thrill ride and a water coaster, but now they only went for the normal version, which doesn't fit the park as well. So I think the loop version will fit many parks very well, especially seeing as even families would ride it, because it's fun. It's just a loop. It's to get people into roller coasters. That's really nice.
So I think it doesn't look very fun. It's just a power splash with a loop in. Probably won't be that forceful.
Well, it looks kind of like a more sheer circular loop.
Yeah, but it's so huge that it won't be that good.
To be fair, like I think, I at least hope the launches will be more powerful on the version and the airtime may be better. But then again, those are so huge boats, you can't really do that much. They're so heavy.
No, I mean, I think it's kind of hard to let this concept run with big boats of 4 across in 4 rows. But I think
Nah,
that is the type of vehicle that they're aiming for to put on it. Because that's in the concept arts, and that's what the current power splashes run on too.
maybe
But
they will add some access on the existing Power Splash boat, but I don't think that.
yeah, so Glenn, do you have
Well,
anything to add?
yeah. So when I first saw this thing, I thought, what the hell is that? It looked really weird, and the loop is very circular, to be honest. But I think it could be a nice addition to some smaller parks without the water coaster and without like a big thrilling addition to the park. Um, what I'm mostly concerned about with this project from Mock, the Power Splash, Power Loop, is that those boats are really heavy, and I'm not really sure if they would make the loop.
Well,
But
they
I
have
think they,
kept this.
I think they did the math and everything, so it should be fine. But if it was an April Fool's joke, which I thought was at first, I wouldn't be like, oh, okay.
No,
Well, the
but
thing is, like they added another set of LSMs, so it would easily make it.
the
Oh, they
vehicle
actually
is
did.
so freaking heavy though.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
but if you add enough, it will make it over.
I think it's a pretty interesting concept, though.
It will feel really weird. So, in the previous episode, we quickly talked or briefly talked about Abysses, the new Vekoma Shockwave model, next gen, coming to Energylandia, and now it's actually starting to progress quite quickly. They activated Polish mode finally, and it took a while, but I think it looks very promising. I mean, the track color is almost perfect. I absolutely love that. Glenn, did you see the pictures?
No, I've not, but if you could send them, I could react on it in a bit. Oh wait, I think I did actually see them. Aren't those like the pictures with like all the track being installed?
Blue Vekoma
Obviously.
track.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen those ones.
nice. Um, Lars, what do you think of it?
I think it looks really cool, especially as seeing as Lech is my number one. I'm very excited for Abysses, as it could rival Lech very well, seeing as it has two launches, a lot of airtime hooks, nice inversions, an awesome top hat. The only sad thing is that the top hat will have trims, but I think
Will
Backroad will
it?
still give, yeah,
Oh,
Backroad will
shit.
still have good ejector, so I don't fear anything. As like could very well easily be in my top five.
I mean, well, yes, obviously. I would love to ride it actually, and I think Luca would also love to ride it.
Indeed, it looks very fun. Really intense, as most of the combers are. And the layout seems good enough. Obviously, it's just extended version of the Shockwave. But honestly, I don't mind the layout, and I love the interaction with the terrain and the water. And the theme looks to be decent. However, the one thing I'm not too sold on is the queue line. It's just loads of switchbacks and doesn't look that nice to me.
Well, I mean, wasn't the Zadra queue also loads of switchbacks underneath the wooden structure? And it literally
No,
took you like so long to walk through the entire queue.
I
Literally
will fact
everyone who
check
rode
that.
Zadra said, "Oh, you cannot marathon it because it takes so long to walk through the queue line."
Yeah, but that's not cause the queue is a cattle pin, it's cause the queue is just a huge circle, I think.
Oh, I don't know for sure. Well, it
At
could
least
be a
that's what I
combination of both.
I
true.
believe it's just one big circle with
Yeah.
maybe a few switchbacks.
Wasn't it like switchbacks at the beginning and then a giant circle around the coaster and then like a few switchbacks at the end?
Yeah. Basically.
And like wasn't like the circle one giant switchback too?
I don't know.
I haven't ridden it.
I haven't been there.
But well, yeah, those queues are kind of a shame, but they're at least planning ahead for the future and they've made quite a big steps recently with their theming. From
Indeed.
doing like no themes at all, basically, from Hyperion being in like the space theme to like Zadra being an entire theme blend around it,
True.
and that's going on forward with Abyssus.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the disco coaster is going to be incorporated quite nicely into the area.
Although they don't show really well theming for like on Plopsa Lands or Park Asterix one, it kind of looks bland and just simple. More like movie parks, but then with a path going in between it.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing is, like for example, the area which Zadra is in, like, the village is really nice. But
Yeah.
for example, Zadra is literally just on the field, and
But it's a hyper coaster,
yeah,
so
and
it's
the
really
Dragon
hard to
Kiddie
see.
coaster is literally on some stone, and the Frida, I think it's called, the Vekoma in Indonesian coaster, it's on the field. So
Yeah.
the layouts themselves aren't themes, and I
Yeah, but they don't
think
need it.
But Abyssus is
Kiddie
getting some
coasters need
theming in the
it.
layout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like tunnels and all.
but what I'm trying to say here is that they probably are just like the disco coaster. Okay, well, let it be there. It doesn't really need extensive theming.
I don't think they will do that because if I'm looking at the concept art from like Abyssus and you see a little drop tower in the background, that's even themed. So I think it will be more themed than the Lost area that did with Sledger in it.
Even Dragon Zone looks great, and I really it seems like they've really tried to integrate the ride into the theming with the whole water and the tunnels, and even how the Batwing goes through the entrance of the area. I think overall, like the ride will wrap up around the area really well, and
Yeah.
it'll be one of the most beautiful rides out there, in my opinion.
True.
So are we done on Abyssus?
I want to add one more thing.
Okay.
I think the queue line will be better actually than the one on Hyperion, cause you actually see it actively the coaster, and all at
True.
the whole time. Like Hyperion, you're in this huge building with a huge staircase and all.
It looks
So I
nicer.
think the queue line will be underrated.
We'll see what
And-
happens.
And will the entrance to Abyssus will be at the Batwing, or is it the area entrance.
I don't know. I haven't really looked into those. So, next topic. We're really going through them quite quickly, but I mean, why wouldn't we? The next topic is actually already a little bit older, but Texas Stingray made its first test run.
Oh yeah.
And actually, after seeing it, compared to the animations, I think it might be one of the best GCIs because it looks pretty fast.
So yeah, it's way faster than I expected. Definitely the best, or at least one of the best GCIs in North America. The only competition could really be Thunderhead and Gold Striker, for what it seems. So obviously Renegade and Mystic Timbers, those rides do have their fans. Then obviously Ghost Rider, if you consider it a GCI, will still probably remain the best.
I mean,
But I think Texas Stingray blew everyone away. It'll probably, except for the first hit, that looks boring, but the rest of it looks to be really fast paced, really low to the ground, and a great combination of airtime and laterals.
True.
well, you said Thunderhead was one of the best GCIs in the States?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think Thunderhead looks so overrated.
It's hard to judge GCIs by the POVs.
Yeah.
Thunderhead's
okay.
got really strong laterals and some pretty good airtime as well.
I mean, Thunderhead kind of looks kind of similar to Troy, and I am not the biggest fan of Troy. I still really enjoyed it, but
I'd say
I think it's just a little bit messy. But I think the main reason I didn't love Troy when I rode it is because it was a freaking hot day at Toverland and it was incredibly rough when I rode it.
So Troy and Thunderhead are very similar in terms of layout and how they ride. However, I'd say Thunderhead is still better.
Okay, Lars?
Yeah, I think a Texas Stingray is a perfect addition actually for SeaWorld San Antonio, seeing as it's now the biggest and fastest wooden coaster in all of Texas. What really surprised me is how actually fast it runs after the first test runs. If you have seen the El Toro Ryan video where he compares the animation and the test run, you can really see how well the pacing actually is compared to the animations, and we already thought that was running really well. So I'm really looking forward to getting on it at some point.
Glenn, did you actually see the Texas Stingray testing video?
I actually did because I'm trying to be well educated in the theme park industry at the moment. And yeah, I think it really fits the park because, of course, SeaWorld is doing a lot of investments lately, and they don't have a wooden coaster yet at one of their parks in general. And I think it might be the underdog of this year from new coasters coming up. So I think it looks to be running pretty smoothly and pretty fast.
I think I might agree on that, actually, yeah.
And I think it could really be an
I
interesting
mean,
ride.
In the previous episodes, we kind of went over it quickly because we were like, oh yeah, just another GCI probably will be a decent middle tier or something. But it turned out to be better than expected. If we look at the test runs, the videos, I mean, it kind of has the Untamed effect, where everyone was kind of blown away by how fast it was running on the first videos, which I think is quite funny.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But I think they could really do something with this, and hopefully they will get a lot more attendance this year because of Texas Stingray.
Yeah,
It probably won't, but
they will, I guess. It's the biggest woody in all of Texas.
no, it's the new Texas Giant.
That wasn't funny, to be honest. But
Okay, I'm sorry. So one more topic.
yes, I would actually like to talk about Hals über Kopf.
What do you want to talk about it? There's nothing really that happened since the previous episode.
I mean, that's like whole track going up, but okay, Boomer.
Yeah, but track going up isn't noteworthy in this case.
I mean, it does. It looks quite good. As
Or
one thing that
Pantheon.
surprised me is the use of tunnels
Yeah,
and how it goes underground and really interacts with the terrain. That should add another element to the intensity, and maybe even make it better than some B&M inverts.
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Especially as it will be the first, like the first inverted coaster to be focused also on airtime and not just inversions. And we haven't really seen that with any other inverted coaster in the world.
Okay, I quickly just wanna talk about probably one of the most famous sponsors in the theme park world, which is of course Blue Fire, the way underrated mech launch coaster at Europa Park, and I heavily triggered Luca and Lars with that sentence.
Indeed.
But they are removing the Gazprom branding from the coaster, and they
Oh, thank God.
actually they removed the entire interactive queue, and now they are actually looking for a new sponsor for the coaster, and that
And
kinda
so the
surprised
big
me.
announcement for this podcast is that we're sponsoring them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are officially sponsoring Blue Fire.
So the
New
onboard
name-
audio is being changed to our podcast.
Yep. And
Yeah.
It will be
new
the
name-
latest podcast.
Yeah, and the new name will be a Blue Fire Mega Coaster powered by CoasterTopia Podcast.
And Keyman Coaster.
And there will be a meet and greet every weekend on Wednesdays, Fridays, and every weekend.
If they pay
Yeah.
my transport costs and park entry, sure, I'll be there.
Oh. Autographs €5.
Yes, so I can actually pay stuff.
Will they retheme the pre-launch section on Blue Fire?
No, I don't think they will retheme the pre-launch section. So, quickly, Europa Park announced they will have will get a new sponsor for Blue Fire, which I think is weird because why wouldn't you leave it like how it is? Just remove the Gazprom logos. I think that would be better because Europa Park is probably very rich. They don't really need the sponsor anymore, I think. But okay, they just like to sponsor every coaster they have. Silver Star Mercedes, Wodan Mustang Jeans. What else is sponsored? Volatarium by Euro Wings.
I think there was
etc.,
advertising in
etc..
Arthur.
Yeah, Capri Sun.
Yeah, exactly.
But they removed it, I think.
Yeah, because so many people complained about it.
Oof.
That's just stupid, because it's a well-recognized brand. If it would be a random brand, no one would actually notice it.
Uh-huh. But yeah, that's about Europa Park sponsoring rant for now. And if you listen to us discussing these topics and you didn't hear something you would like to have discussed on the podcast, then you can always send it to me on Instagram DMs. I guess that's the best option, or a private message on Twitter if you feel like it. It's at CoasterTopia on Instagram and at CoasterTopiaTom on Twitter. Or put it in the YouTube comments. Or maybe send a voice message via Anchor, but I won't put it in the podcast because it's quite complicated to actually fix that and do how it works, But okay, CoasterTopia on YouTube and anchor.fm/CoasterTopia on Anchor for the voice message. So we are now continuing to the second part of the podcast, which is quickly going over some personal rankings of everyone who is now joined or who I'm joined by. And we will start with Mr. Luca Buca.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So I will now ask you a couple of things, and you need to say like 3 or 5 of your favorite of those categories. It don't have to be in order, but can be in order if you want.
Okay, yes, I
So-
understand.
Let's start with manufacturers.
So, see, this is a tough one for me, as not only do I look at their past rides, but I look at their future rides as well, what upcoming projects and what they're currently producing now. So obviously, you have a manufacturer like Intamin, which has had an amazing past, But right now, at least their few most recent rides haven't quite been up to that standard, in my opinion. Whereas you have a manufacturer like RMC, which haven't really had much of a past, but now are producing consistently amazing coasters. And then you have Vekoma, which have only just become really good, but now they seem to be making some of the best rides in the world. And so what I'd say is actually 3 is B&M, because they just are consistent at making good rides, and they've even made a couple of phenomenal rides such as Fury. 2, I'd say, is Intamin. I could see this going up though, as Intamin have made some quite bad rides, such as Colossus at Thorpe Park. However, they made some amazing rides such as Sky Rush or El Toro or Expedition G-Force. But again, currently rides like Hyperion, while they're good, they're not quite on the level of their other coasters, and same with Taron. However, with the addition of Tiger and Pantheon, they seem to be turning around and making some of the best rides in the world again. And then, obviously, number 1 is RMC, which I feel like is a basic option now. Everyone goes with RMC, but they're just so consistent. The only problem with them is that they don't really have much diversity outside of their hybrids, woodies, and single rail coasters.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can expand upon that, as some of their rides do get a bit repetitive in a way. But don't get me wrong, they're still phenomenal, and I love every single one of their rides that I've ridden.
So, okay, quite nice. So, what about your favorite parks?
So again, this is a tough one, as I rank parks based off of my experience, but also based off of how objectively good they are. So I'm gonna give my top 4 actually, because number 4 is Toverland. So this is a park that I feel like is really underrated by some people, and it's definitely just one of my favorites. It's so beautiful. Food there's good, the staff there's good, and I definitely caught it on a lucky day, as the queues were minimal when I went. And 3 is Knott's Berry Farm. Again, another underrated park by some, but then it does have its fans as well. It definitely feels like Cedar Fair Park, but it also has some really good charm. Obviously the whole Calico and Ghost Town area with the Log Flume, Ghost Rider, that's all amazing. However, the rest of the park isn't nearly up to that standard. 2 is Phantasialand. I know some people won't agree with this, especially if you have it as their home park. They hate this park. However, I love it.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, I like it more personally. The theming there is amazing. I love Taron. I love Black Mamba. I love Colorado. The only problem with the park is the whole left side of the park, but Fly should slightly redeem that, and I can't wait to revisit the park once Rookburg is open. And then by far my number 1 is Dollywood. They pretty much do everything right. Coasters, theming, operations, staff, food. I can't really name anything bad about Dollywood. And not to mention the amazing location. You know, situated in the Smoky Mountains. It's just absolutely beautiful. Then having Lightning Rod as a standout coaster is probably the best standout coaster you can have, except maybe DC Rock or something like that.
Okay. And the last one, I mean, you made a big story about your previous 2 lists, but maybe you should keep this one short, just your 5 or 3 favorite coasters in general.
Okay, so yeah, I basically just rank it about how much I enjoy it. So 5 is Voyage. Day rides are terrible, but night rides are some of the best rides you can ever get on a coaster. So it takes a while to warm up. Once it's warmed up, it's one of the best woodies in the world. 4 is Storm Chaser, probably the most aggressive RMC. The airtime is really strong, really good laterals, and the trick track double up is maybe the strongest moment of airtime. 3, bit of a controversial one, Steel Vengeance. I honestly think that's how it's ranked now is perfectly ranked. I would say objectively, yeah, it's the best coaster in the world. It does everything so well. It's not quite to my taste. The airtime isn't quite strong enough. But obviously, if it was strong, it'd be too much. So it's kind of a compromise. And this leans to more towards quantity instead of quality. But don't get me wrong, the airtime's still really strong. And I still think it's underrated by quite a lot of people, actually. Some people who rank it really low, I feel like some people might do it for just to say and just to brag about it, having it low. Well, I honestly think it's amazing. Number 2 is Sky Rush. Yeah, it's the most intense ride I've ridden. Just the changes from 5Gs to -2Gs are absolutely insane. Just the matter of time it's in, it's crazy. And then it also has a great lateral, and then the drop, which is my favorite element on any coaster by far. It's hard to explain. I can't even describe it. And then number 1 is Lightning Rod. Obviously my favorite park. It's so much fun. While Sky Rush is way more intense, I just had way more fun on Lightning Rod. Just rushing through the trees, all the air time, even some decent laterals, and surprising positives considering it's an RMC. And some people complain about it being rough or the restraints being bad. I disagree with both. It's relatively smooth. It's how you want a Woody to be. And the restraints, in my opinion, are fine. I don't really get bothered by RMC restraints. So yeah, that's my top 5.
Thank you. So then next, we will do it all again, but now for Lars. So Lars, what are your favorite
Yeah.
manufacturers?
I would say like my top 3 manufacturers I would probably start with RMC at 3. I mean, they do awesome rides. Every ride they did is flawless. But the thing is, like, I only got to ride 2 of them, so I didn't really got I don't really feel a connection to the manufacturer yet. I think that will develop as soon as I ride some more RMCs in America, and Wildfire soon, and Zebra. I think then it would definitely move up to 2 or even 1, I don't know. Then I would say my number 2 manufacturer is probably Intamin, seeing as the past, they did really good coasters. Every coaster is really fun and all, especially G-Force, Goliath, and Furious Barker and stuff like that. Although the more recent ones aren't that good, like Red Force and Hyperion, they kind of have a errata. That's why I wouldn't rank them as number 1. Then my personal number 1 is Vekoma, probably cause my favorite coaster is Lech Coaster, spoiler alert, and that I just got a connection to the manufacturer because of Lech, so I love it. And all the future projects look really good. Would have loved to seen Vekoma Hyperion actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's basically my top 3 manufacturers.
Hyperion. What was it? Skydash?
Yeah, the Skydash, that would have been
Rest in
one of the
peace,
best coasters
Skydash.
ever.
Please build
Number
it somewhere
1 in the
else,
world.
please.
Maybe.
Well, probably not number 1. But okay, so Lars, what are your favorite parks?
My favorite parks, probably, I would say number 3 is probably Djurs Sommerland in Denmark. It's a really fun park, really nice. There's like no bad section in the whole park. All of the park is clean, beautiful and all. Coasters are amazing. Piraten especially, good airtime. The theming is also outstanding. Like, not Fantasyland level theming, but like really nice theming and useful theming. Especially Drage Kongen and the newer areas. Or Juwelen. Then I would say my number 2 park is Knott's Berry Farm. Because I love the charm it has. It's just like, you have so much fun at the park, especially night rides on Ghost Rider boost the park up quite by a lot. Then the whole Ghost Town area is really nice. The old rides with the log flume and Calico mine ride, really good. Really enjoyed them. I think the boardwalk area is also really nice. Seeing as it has hang time now, which looks really nice. Kind of disappointing ride, but at least it adds to it. And the area with rafting and Pony Express also underrated, in my opinion. Yeah. And then my number 1 park is PortAventura, Spain. The thing is, like, I got it on a day where it wasn't as busy as most people have it. Then I really enjoyed just marathoning Shambhala, Red Force, a couple rides on Furious Barco, which still got a massive line. I also really like the theming in the whole park. Yeah.
So, okay. And what are your favorite coasters?
I will just say my top 5 coasters.
Yeah,
Uh,
just do it.
I have at number 5 Piraten in Disneyland. It is very intense, the first turn. It has every airtime moment is really good, really fun. It has really good laterals on the twisted hills. And it's just such a good coaster to marathon. It's so nice. Then I have a tie at number 4 with Shambhala at Expedition GeForce. Most people will probably say, what am I doing with putting GeForce the same level as Shambhala? But I just don't like the repetitiveness of GeForce that much. That seems a bit weird, seeing as I have a B&M Hyper right next to it. But night rides on Shambhala really did it, like really pushed it up in my rankings. That's why it's that high. The airtime is also really good on both coasters. GeForce especially, like its airtime is strong that it hurts because of the restraints. Really good. Then my number 3 coaster is Untamed at Wallaby Holland. It's a fine coaster, like really good. I think it's a little bit overrated by many people still, but it was a good investment for Wallaby Holland for sure. Then my number 2 coaster is X2, mostly because of the drop, because the drop is just so outstanding. It was also so much fun to ride, seeing my brother scream on a coaster. Then my number 1 is obviously Lech Coaster, with probably the strongest airtime I've ridden on a coaster. A nice mix of good drop, intensity, inversions, airtime, hang time, just a well-rounded coaster as a whole. And the whole themed area is really nice, with the buildings and the small touches and all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your tops. And then we only have Glenn left to do his manufacturers, parks, and coasters. And Glenn, you don't have to make it that long. If you could just quickly go over them, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Let's start with my top 5 parks. Well, I'll make it a top 3.
No, now you're
because
doing it out of order.
what's the order?
Manufacturers first.
Okay, let's start up with my top 3 manufacturers. I'm not really off these top 3 lists because everything is subject to change every time.
You don't
write
have to
something.
make it a top list. You can also just say like, okay, I
But
really like these. They're
The
leader.
manufacturers I really like at the moment.
Fuck your mother.
The manufacturers I really like at the moment.
Wait,
in
stop,
2020.
Luca, what did you say? Okay, Glenn, can you just start over?
Okay. Well,
With the manufacturers I like.
the manufacturers I like a lot in 2020. Well, early 2020 so far. At number 3 is probably RMC for their innovation. Mostly the Raptors and the T-Rexes that are coming in a couple of years probably, and the RMC iBox and the Topper Truck. And I'm really interested in what they're going to do in the future because I see them grow quite a lot, and there's a lot of potential in the construction for sure. One of my other favorite manufacturers is B&M. They don't have the best rides, but all the rides they made are good and smooth usually, and you can do quite a lot with them. And I mean, look at Baron 1898. It has great theming, great storyline. The ride isn't totally there, but it's smooth. And something like Shambhala is just fun. They make fun rides. Another manufacturer, Mark Rides, really good.
Oh,
They also make fun rides.
that's
Just
an unexpected twist.
they have, well, it's a bit of a unpopular opinion, but they just make fun rides. They don't have to be the best to be
Yeah,
fun.
true.
The launches are weaker, but they are more focused on the family market, even with thrill rides and extreme rides on RCDB. I think they can be really good fun, and everyone can enjoy them in the family. One of my lesser expected manufacturers for this year is Intamin. I see them doing a comeback this year with Pantheon and stuff, and the recent like innovations they made, they are still innovating. but it's going on such a slow pace that they barely can keep up with the entire like branch. So I'm really interested how that will go down.
Fair enough.
Vekoma is also really innovating, but I think I should round up this subject.
Yeah. Glenn, please make the next two a little bit quicker.
Yeah, please just
Okay.
stop.
Yeah.
I'm
Please
just kidding.
just stop
Just
sharing
kidding.
toxic opinions.
Okay,
Thanks.
hurry up.
Okay.
Your favorite parks?
My top 3 favorite parks, also subject to change, of course, because I'm going on a big road trip this year to Scandinavia. But my number 3 at the moment is, well, I'm a postholder of it even, is the Efteling. I just enjoy like the entire like ambience there is there, and the theming is great. I mean, it's a lot of nostalgia for me because I've grown up with it, but for my personal opinion, it's the top 3 park. Number 2 is probably Elton Towers. Also, maybe an unpopular opinion. I visited the park in 2016, but I really enjoyed it. It has great atmosphere as well. The theming is great, to be honest, and the rides are good and interesting. Like Galactica VR, well, it's now been removed the VR, but like still a flying coaster. It's really interesting to ride, especially because we don't have one in Europe yet. Well, seeing Fly being built at Phantasialand, that could change. Phantasialand is also at my top 2. Those are both like at the same level for me almost. Phantasialand has a lot more theming, and it has a lot more interactive. Is a lot more interactive with the guests, like the rides and everything. What I don't like about Phantasialand is the left side and how busy it can get, and that's something I just dislike about the park. And they don't seem to be really good at crowd management. And my favorite park is, well, if you know the Golden Ticket Awards, you basically know the park. It's Europa Park.
Europa Park.
Well, it just has great theming overall again. I'm more of a theming guy. I like that they have a bunch of shows there, and the rides are in generally also just great fun. They don't have to be the best to be fun. And that's what makes Europa Park so good as well. They have fun rides and a lot of them. You can basically spend 3 days there and just keep enjoying yourself when if you go to something like, let's say, well, at least where I couldn't enjoy myself for 3 days probably is Cedar Point. Shocking, I know, but
What?
there is no theming there, and I need to be like, I'm more of the theming because it gets you in like a different
Because you're a nerd.
world, and you're going to be you're being immersed in this other world, and you're just living somewhere else for the moment, and you're forgetting about your daily life, which is something I really enjoy.
And that's
Yeah,
why I
so
love
that's
Cedar
what-
Point.
Phantasialand.
So that's why you enjoy Phantasialand and like Alden Towers, Efteling,
Okay.
and
Fair enough.
Europa
Yeah.
Park a lot.
And then your favorite coaster, but just say the coaster and then just like one sentence, please.
My top 3 favorite coasters at number 3 is the Smiler. Shocking, I know. Number 2 is Terran, and number 1 is Untamed at the moment, but it will change because I'm going to Scandinavia.
Why are you so sure about that?
Because I booked the trip.
Yeah, no, but why are you sure? Why are you so
Why?
sure about the fact that you will ride better coasters in Scandinavia?
Belder looks really good, to be honest. It looks repetitive.
Nice.
Balder.
You
No, I'm
I
just
can't
kidding.
stop laughing.
No, I'm just kidding.
Valkyria looks better.
Valkyria? No. No, I'm really interested in riding the Schwerdesgarten. First of all,
Scandinavia.
that's
Yeah.
Germany, but we're traveling through Deutschland, yes. Second of all, Helix looks really good.
Yeah, the launch
Again,
looks so
mock
good.
rides. I do think some of them will get in my top 3, but I don't think Untamed will change. Maybe Wildfire can beat it, but I'm not really sure.
Did you actually already complete your top 3 or?
I did.
Okay. So thank
How
you,
how
huh?
how can you think like Untamed will be beaten? Like the best coaster you will probably ride in your opinion is Wildfire, which has pacing issues. then the coaster you say is Balder. Like, who cares about Balder anymore?
I do.
Nice.
Anyway, Glenn, thank you for giving your opinion. I will quickly just say my favorite manufacturers, parks, and coasters. No, wait, I'm not. If you want to know those, stay tuned to the channel. I will upload separate videos of all of those in the coming weeks.
And
Sell
I'll be
out.
collaborating with Tom.
Turn on the bell on
Sell out.
youtube.com/CoasterTopia. Yeah,
Sell
I'm
out.
definitely a sellout. I want to thank these guys for joining. Lars at Keyman Coaster on Instagram. Follow
Like,
him.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Follow Luca on Instagram at the Coaster Boys. That is _coaster_boys. Well, hello there. This is Edit Tom. Quickly interrupting because Luca actually, between the recording of this episode and the publishing of this episode, he changed his Instagram name to Luca Coasters, which is Luca_coasters. So yeah, just say that. Yeah, okay, bye. And follow Glenn on Instagram at CoasterMod.
Coaster Mod.
If he's eventually going to do something.
Oh, shut up.
And you can always follow me, as I said, on YouTube, CoasterTopia, Twitter, CoasterTopia Tom, Instagram, CoasterTopia, and you can listen to this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Breaker, Castbox, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Stitcher, and YouTube. So, if you can leave a rating on your app, please do it. For example, on Apple Podcast, and if you can follow the podcast, for example, on Spotify, please do that too. And I will hear or see or speak to y'all in the next episode of the CoasterTopia podcast. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.